This week, we're going to focus on article searching. I want to take just a minute to remind you before we get there that the mythical perfect search almost never happens. So what we like to think about in this search world is that we'd like to think that we can just identify our concepts and keywords, that we can go and use the tools that we've learned related to Boolean operators or subject headings and just build a search, find some results, and find the perfect sources. But what is more likely to happen is that we're going to have to be iterative in our research and in our searching specifically. So we are going to go through, identify our concepts and keywords, build searches in a database, and look at the results. But then what we might need to do is revise our results, maybe come up with some new concepts or keywords, try a new database, and then look through the variety of sources that we have found. So this is just a quick reminder that searching is iterative, that we're going to go through several of these steps multiple times, and that is a totally normal part of this process. We are going to be looking specifically at some different types of databases this week. And databases broadly are really just collections of information or collections of data that can be, as we see here, retrieved using organized search procedures. And we've been focusing a lot on learning those search procedures, and we're going to really implement them really deeply into article databases this week. When we think about library databases, usually what we're thinking about are online collections of citations, abstracts, sometimes full text. It really just depends on the database. Some databases are what we call interdisciplinary, or they cover a lot of different disciplines, while others are more specific and cover specific fields. Some have full text, others do not, and we're going to need to be able to locate the full text based on the information that we find in the database itself. Sometimes students get a little bit confused about the difference between EBSCO, which is a company that the library works with to provide databases, with the database name or the type of database itself. While the library subscribes to many EBSCO databases, really the database itself is a named database like Academic Search Complete or PsycInfo or something like that. So EBSCO is really just the platform that we use in order to provide access to many different types of databases. And I'll show you when we're searching how you can identify what type of database or specifically the name of the database that you're in. Other companies we use might be like ProQuest, Ovid, or specific publishers sometimes as well. And so when we think about using these organized methods in order to retrieve information from databases, one of the concepts we need to really think about is the difference between recall and precision. So recall is when we're thinking about the number of results, or our goal is to retrieve as many results as possible. This is a very quantitative measure of searching. And so this is where a tool like OneSearch is really great because we're trying to retrieve a lot of information. The difference between recall and precision is that when we're trying to be precise in our research, we're trying to find only the most relevant results. So this is really more of a qualitative measure of whether the results are useful to us or not. And the challenge is that these two ideas tend to be inversely related. And so what that means is that if we retrieve a lot of results, we tend to not be very precise, or a lot of those results may be not relevant to us. However, if we try to be precise and really specific in our searching, then we're going to find fewer articles. And choosing a database is one way we can choose to be valuing more recall or finding more results, or being more precise and trying to find more specifically relevant research for us. So choosing a database really kind of depends on what kind of information you need, maybe who would write about it, and where it would be published. So thinking about these things will help you choose a database. So if I'm thinking about my sample search about whether or not in adult women with anxiety, weekly yoga practice reduces anxiety symptoms compared to cognitive behavioral therapy. If I am looking for, say, original research I would think that maybe researchers or scientists or maybe practitioners would be the people writing it, and it would be in scholarly journal articles. So I would want to choose a database that would help me find scholarly journal articles written by researchers. If I wanted more things like practitioner experience or patient experience or maybe current events, then I would be looking at things written by journalists or patients, for example, and then I would want to probably find a database that would help me find newspapers, magazines, trade publications. So that is how those decisions really influence the database I'm going to choose or the type of source I'm looking for. As I mentioned, there are some databases that are what we consider to be multidisciplinary, and this means that they cover many different subjects. Academic Search Premier is a really good example of an EBSCO database that does that. Two other multidisciplinary databases that are not EBSCO databases would be Web of Science or Google Scholar. They cover a lot of different types of subjects. Some of the more subject-specific databases we might want to look at that focus on a particular subject would be like PsycInfo, which focuses on psychology, Sports Discus, ERIC, CINAHL, which focuses on nursing. And one of the things that you might notice is that a lot of these databases in their name, they mention the discipline that they focus on. In Moodle, I've provided you with some different recommendations of different databases that you might want to try depending on your topic and your research question. What about OneSearch? So OneSearch is what we call a discovery tool. And what it really does is it tries to aggregate as much information as possible from a lot of different search tools and a lot of different databases. So all of our EBSCO databases are included in OneSearch. Many of our other databases are. The library catalog, it has free repositories, it has lots of information. So it's really good for example, recall. You can find a lot of information, but it's not terribly precise. And so this week, we're really going to focus more on being precise in our research. And so we're going to try to use tools that basically aren't OneSearch. So how do we decide? How do we decide what databases to use? Well, you can always ask. Librarians love to get recommendations. We're familiar with our search tools, so we're happy to give you recommendations. Your professors, your advisors also probably have their own favorite databases they like to use. A couple of the other places that I'll show you include looking at the library subject guides, looking at the database list, or noticing which databases that OneSearch is pulling from. So let's take a look at those strategies. Here I am at the library's homepage, and there are a couple of different places that we can go to look for database recommendations. One of my favorite places is to check the subject guides. If I click on subject guides, I can go to a guide that is relevant to my topic. So for my topic about anxiety, I might want to go to the psychology guide right here. And then from these subject guides, oftentimes over here on the left, there's going to be some recommended databases, and then I could also click on Find Articles and find some additional recommendations. So that's one place I could go. I could also go to the database list by clicking on Databases. If I know the name of a database, I could browse for it. But if I click on View All, what I can also do is I can click on the subjects, and then I could go down to, again, I could go to psychology, and then it's going to give me some recommended databases for psychology. And oftentimes there'll be a box here with best bets, and I could stick to those, or I could scroll through and look at some of the other recommendations that are included here. Finally, if I do a quick search for my topic in OneSearch, again, just a quick OneSearch keyword search, I can scroll down, and on the left-hand side here, there is this box that says Content Provider. And what this is going to do is it's going to show me the different places that OneSearch is pulling from for my search. So right now I'm seeing things about Newsbank, which is more news related, NewsSource Plus. I'm really looking for scholarly articles. So I'm going to go up here and click Scholarly Journal Articles. and scroll down again, and now I see complementary index is one of those additional search tools that OneSearch searches, so I can ignore that. But then I see Academic Search Complete, Medline, CINAHL, Psychology and Behavioral Sciences Collection. These are all examples of databases that I might be able to go and search for my topic. Those are some different ways that you might think about selecting databases. When you're actually searching databases, you're going to want to think about your keywords and subject headings. You're going to use Boolean operators. You're going to combine searches. We're also going to talk a little bit about how you might revise your searches and then save what you need. So stay tuned.